First English sighting of ball lightning. A 12th century monk's chronicle reveals all. This is by Gilles Gasper, Professor, High Medieval History, Durham University. Brian Tanner, Emeritus Professor of Physics at Durham University in the UK, on the conversation. On June 7, 1195, that's about 1,000 years ago, the fiery spinning ball emerged from a dark cloud in an erstwhile sunny sky close to the London lodgings of the Bishop of Norwich, and witnesses could never have known that the natural phenomenon that they were seeing would defy scientific explanation for more than 800 years. For what they observed has all the hallmarks of ball lightning. It's an atmospheric effect, the origin of which remains hotly disputed. An account of this extraordinary moment survives in a monastic chronicle compiled between about 1180 and 1199 by Gervase, a monk of Christ Church Cathedral in Canterbury. It would appear that this is the first credible written record of ball lightning in England, and much more convincing than an earlier European description. Previously, the earliest record of a sighting was believed to be from the 17th century. So this extensive work, nearly 600 pages in its modern edition, records historical events in England and further afield, the friends and enemies of the monastic house, and descriptions of noteworthy or unusual natural phenomena. The writings include descriptions of solar and lunar eclipses, earthquakes, and floods. A marvelous sign, quote-unquote, in the sky. We discovered the account of what appears to be ball lightning while exploring Gervase's records of natural events in his chronicle, a cornucopia of historical details giving insights into medieval culture. I support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box. And this is another representation of ball lightning coming into a house in England in 1880 through the chimney, of all places. So, a marvelous sign in the sky. They discovered the account of what appears to be ball lightning while exploring Gervase's records of natural events in his chronicle, a cornucopia of history details giving insights into medieval culture. We dug through hundreds of pages in Latin and stumbled across this sighting detailed in our article in Weather, the Journal of the Royal Meteorological Society. Gervase's records of natural events appear within the historical narrative, often with no preamble. They were, nevertheless, clearly important enough to Gervase to be included here. The ball lightning entry is sandwiched between the installation of a new abbot of St. Albans and the deposition of the abbot of Thorney. No attempt is made to explain this marvelous sign in the sky seen near London. The reader is left to draw their own conclusions. One abbot takes up his post, another deposed, alongside the appearance of a fiery spinning ball. In the Chronicle it says, a sort of fiery globe threw itself down into the river. But Gervase appears to have been an astute observer and reportedly of celestial activity. For example, his seemingly fanciful description of the splitting of the image of the moon is consistent with the formation of a vertical mirage from a column of hot air from activity such as iron working or bell casting. Gervase's description of ball lightning is also remarkably similar to modern reports. It predates by nearly 450 years the next earliest contemporary report of ball lightning in England. This comes from an account of the storm of October 21st, 1638, as Widecombe in Devon, and while there is an earlier claim by Nicholas Walsh MP that in 1556 ball lightning killed his immediate family, leaving him heir to his father's estates, the story does not appear to have been recorded until 1712 by the historian Sir Thomas Atkins. For a long time, ball lightning was regarded as, with skepticism, Although it's now generally accepted as a genuine phenomenon with thousands of reported sightings, there's still no accepted scientific explanation of its origin. Highly complicated theories include the burning of silicon from vaporized soil. More recently, a suggestion has been made for light trapped inside a sphere of thin air. It's one of the oldest scientific puzzles that remains unsolved. The moon illusion. Although rare, other long-standing scientific puzzles do exist. One that intrigued medieval natural philosophers is, quote, moon illusion, end quote, whereby the moon appears larger when near the horizon than when it's high in the sky. This was described by medieval thinkers such as Al-Hasan ibn al-Haytham, born Basra, Iraq, around 965 AD and died in Cairo around 1040 AD. And Robert Grosseteste, 1170 to 1253. The effect is still not totally resolved. It is certainly a psychological effect and not, as the medieval observers believed, associated with refraction. Another is the origin of ferromagnetism, seen in the attraction between permanent magnets and iron, like fridge door magnets are well-known examples. Medieval authors such as St. John of St. Amand and Petrus Peregrinus undertook experiments on magnets that laid the groundwork for further investigation. However, it was not until 1928 that Werner Heisenberg provided a satisfactory explanation for the phenomenon in terms of quantum mechanics. Understanding ball lightning has been hampered by an inability to reproduce the effect convincingly in the laboratory, and partly because of the variations in eyewitness reports. The reported observation of ball lightning may be a first step towards providing quantitative data from which to fully explain Gervasis of Canterbury's marvelous sign descending. Medieval monks such as Gervas were fascinated by the natural world and its phenomena, and centuries later the records make stimulating reading for modern scientists as well as historians. This is on the conversation. And now concerning ball lightning as per Wikipedia. The unexplained is still unexplained. They don't know what's causing this. Described as luminescent spherical objects that vary from pea-sized to several meters in diameter. Though usually associated with thunderstorms, the observed phenomena is reported to last considerably longer than the split-second flash of a lightning bolt, and is a phenomenon distinct from St. Elmo's fire. Now, the report here of the 12th century monk's Chronicle says that it appeared in a sunny day. Now, some 19th century reports describe balls that eventually exploded and leave behind an odor of sulfur. Descriptions of ball lightning appear in a variety of accounts over the centuries and have received attention from scientists. An optical spectrum of what appears to have been a ball lightning event published January 2014 and included a video at high frame rate. Laboratory experiments produced effects that are visually similar to reports of ball lightning, but how these relate to supposed phenomena remains unclear. Scientists proposed a number of hypotheses to explain the reported ball lightning over the centuries, but scientific data on ball lightning remain scarce. The presumption of its existence has depended on reported public sightings, which have produced inconsistent findings, and owing to the lack of reproducible data, the existence of ball lightning as a distinct physical phenomenon remains unproven. And there are various historical accounts there, from Argentinian, Chilean, Mapuche culture. According to statistical investigation in 1960, ball lightning has been seen by 5% of the population of the Earth. Another study analyzed reports of 10,000 cases. And we have a great thunderstorm of Wycombe in the Moor, 1638. Ball lightning, the sloop Catherine and Mary, December 1726. A number of British newspapers printed the extract of a letter from John Howell of the sloop Catherine and Mary. A sloop is like a large sailboat. As we're coming from the Gulf of Florida, the large ball of fire fell from the element and split our mast in 10,000 pieces, they said. HMS Montang of 1749, Admiral Chambers on board the Montang, which it says here, 52-gun, third-rate, Speaker-class frigate, launched in 1654. So that was a huge ship. In 4th of November 1749, was taking an observation just before noon. He observed a large ball of blue fire about 3 miles distant from them. They immediately lowered their topsails, but it came up so fast upon them that before they could raise the main tack, they observed a ball rise almost perpendicularly and not above 40 or 50 yards from the main chains when it went off with an explosion as great as of 100 cannons had been discharged at the same time, leaving behind a strong sulphurous smell. By this explosion, the main topmast was shattered into pieces, and the mainmast went down to the keel. 5 men knocked down, one of them very bruised. Just before the explosion, the ball seemed to be the size of a large millstone. So you can see a lot of people say that they're very fast-moving, and they also come down with an explosion and the smell of sulfur. And there's more. George Richmond, 1753, of St. Petersburg, Russia, constructing a kite-flying apparatus similar to Benjamin Franklin's proposal a year earlier. He was attending a meeting at the Academy of Sciences when he heard thunder and ran home as his engraver with his engraver to capture the event for posterity. And while the experiment was underway, ball lightning appeared, traveling down the string, struck Richmond's forehead and killed him. HMS Warren Hastings, Ebenezer Cobmar Brewer, Wilfred de Franville, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia. The last emperor of Russia witnessed what he called a fiery ball while in the company of his grandfather, Emperor Alexander II. R.C. Jennison he published the article in 1969 from the University of Kent. And as we said before, Gervas of Canterbury, the 12th century monk. Date June 7, 1195. And other accounts as well. So they still don't know what it is. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support.